Welcome back, my friends, to BjjBrick Quick. My name is Byron. We're talking about jiu-jitsu. This is your quick jiu-jitsu podcast. This week, man, sometimes you think about what would make a good podcast and what would really make people like click on the title. I don't know what this title is going to be, but this week is like the anti-clickbait of jiu-jitsu titles. I just read the book The Wright Brothers by David McCullough, and hopefully you know the Wright Brothers are the people who the brothers that I guess came up with manned flight on a heavier than air vehicle, an airplane. And I'll be kind of bringing in a topic, a little story about them, and then we'll talk about jiu-jitsu and kind of how it relates. Don't worry, guys. I'll make this work. And hopefully you learn something cool along the way. First one here, Wright Brothers, they picked their location, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. That's not where they're from. They had to move there. And why would they pick this location? I've been there, and there's a Wright Brothers little museum there, and it's pretty cool. And it's you can actually walk on the same ground, maybe not the same ground, but the same. They have it marked out for how far each flight was, and how each flight got a little bit further for the first few flights. But they picked this spot because it was consistently windy, and they wanted a consistent wind to fly into. If you think about trying to get some lift on a plane, if the wind is going into you at 10 miles an hour, you're standing still, but you're getting 10 miles an hour worth of lift. So we wouldn't have to engineer such a strong engine to propel them if they had a little bit of an advantage of the wind. The other big factor was that it was kind of sandy and soft. They anticipated crashing, and they wanted a easy place, like mats, I guess, to crash into if that were to happen. And the Wright brothers were obviously brothers, and they had a close family, and they promised their family that they would do this as safely as possible. And really at the time, it was like, these guys are crazy. Things like this don't work. If I'm in my garage trying to invent a helicopter with a bicycle and parts, like you're like, okay, Byron's lost it. This isn't going to work. But these guys worked really hard, and obviously they accomplished their goal, but they had to go somewhere different to do that. And I was thinking about this, like how important is your turf, and it's the easiest thing I think would be think about your takedown game. And I one time competed in, at least once, but someplace in Nebraska, and their mats literally had springs underneath them, and it was kind of a bouncy feeling. Like, well, this is interesting. And somebody's like, they do a lot of judo here. Oh, that's cool. You're telling me that I could get thrown and not have quite the impact on my body consistently that I do if we're doing our throws and harder takedowns at my gym. That makes sense. Also, think about just your gym. Let's say it's like mine, and we don't have a spring-loaded mat system underneath our feet, but you have training partners that you trust and that will pick you up and put you down safely if that's what we're doing. But you also need the space to do it. If every class you go to is packed, wall to wall with people grappling, there's not enough room to do a sweep sometimes, Like, okay, those classes are really too full to work your takedowns. The idea that maybe you go to maybe a morning class or a different time, or maybe a less popular class and work your takedowns. Or if you get your takedowns done, not done, but like work on those after class or maybe at the last round you stand up, and because people are kind of, sitting out a round or two towards the end sometimes. But the mat space is important. You need a place to crash. You need a way to crash without landing on somebody. The Wright brothers went way out to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. They were living in a tent, and it was rough, it was cold, it was super windy, which they anticipated. And it was a tough go, getting that established. But they did it they did it because the land that they searched the country for this land. They wanted a few things specifically, and they found it here, and it was kind of unbroken, and there weren't even like good roads to that. The first time I read the book like a couple weeks ago. He just spout off a bunch of facts. I think the first time they went there, some guy took them on a boat because there wasn't a good way to get there. But anyway, think about your mat space. If you are, fortunate, or if it's a situation where you train with a mat that's super thick, or that has a good bouncy system that, if you're training on a trampoline, that's a little different. It's a little different. Although you'd fall off that thing and probably get hurt pretty good. But anyway, my friends, this is the first of the week here of talking about the Wright Brothers. I know you'll stay tuned. Next time we're talking about a bully and the Wright Brothers, and this was kind of a shocker. I had never heard the story. Even going to the Wright Brothers Museum, I didn't catch this one. But if you want to support this podcast, you could go to Patreon and support us there. I really appreciate you guys that do that. I want to give a shout out to Paul, our newest Patreon supporter. Thank you, Paul, my friend. Really appreciate you. Money goes to help keep the show running. And if we get to $100 a month on the podcast, I plan on cranking out an episode every day and not skipping the weekends on you guys. So get your BjjBrick quick every day once we hit that goal. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day and stay sweaty, my friends.